Hey everyone, Carrie Beck here with Homeschool Coffee Break, where we help you stop the overwhelm so you can actually take a coffee break. No matter what time of the day it is, don't we all need a little bit of a break? I've been writing a blog post about rest and renewal for homeschool moms. It's going to be coming out later this week, so I'm not sure when you are going to be listening to this, but go to my blog. I'll even leave a link to where this particular um, blog post is because I think it could really encourage you just with the whole idea of taking a coffee break. But that is not exactly what we're talking about today. We're in the middle of a series, and today we are talking about raising our kids to make wise decisions, helping them develop discernment, knowledge, and wisdom from a young age. We all want our kids to make wise choices. We want to make wise choices, and yet sometimes I don't always make them. How do we actually teach our kids discernment? I hope that you will walk away today with the biblical practical tools to raise your kids to make decisions based on truth, not just impulse. So let's take a step back for a moment. Oh, and by the way, if you have not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button wherever it is. We can get this message out to more and more homeschoolers and help them as well. That is my whole goal, is that we help others. All right, so why does wisdom even matter? The world teaches kids to follow their hearts, but God teaches us to follow the truth, His truth. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. Wisdom is all about taking all that knowledge and actually applying it into our lives. Kids applying what they know is truth becomes wisdom. But in order for them to have wisdom, they have to have knowledge. Have you laid a foundation for your kids of what the Bible tells them on how to live as well? You know, our kids are exposed to choices every single day. Some of them, let's face it, do you want a peanut butter sandwich or a ham and cheese sandwich? Okay, that probably really doesn't matter. But other choices, am I going to be kind to the girl in the park? Am I going to pull the toy away from my sibling and get my own way? Am I going to throw a fit? Am I going to be selfish? There are a lot of choices. Now, those are kid things, but if you go like this, all of a sudden they become adult things as well. So we need to take the time right now to teach our kids discernment, wise choices, good decision making. Kids who actually learn good decision making now become leaders who influence Jesus. And y'all know I am all about raising our kids to lead for Jesus, leadership education. And I think a small part of that is teaching our kids critical thinking and wise decision making. First thing you need to do, if you're a homeschooler, or even if you're not, hop off that conveyor belt. You don't have to do the things that everyone else is doing. That conveyor belt that says, here, you do this, test this way. Okay, here, do this, and test this way. That does not teach wisdom. Your kids are not necessarily going to learn wise decision making if they stay on that conveyor belt. I think about King Solomon in the Bible. What was the one thing he asked God for? He could have asked God for anything, wealth and beauty and anything. He was given the choice of anything. What did he choose? He chose wisdom. Look at 1 Kings 3. And God honored that request, and Solomon became known for his wise decisions. There was a time two ladies came in with one baby. They had each had a baby, and they were claiming that baby was theirs. And so Solomon wisely says, well, okay, if you think this and you think that's, let's just take the baby and cut him in half. And one mom was like, oh, no, 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 just give it to her. That was wrong because she did not want her child dead. She did not want her child cut in half. He had the wisdom to know how to handle that decision. You see, wisdom leads to justice, peace, and truth, just like in Solomon's day. Let's raise kids who seek wisdom over popularity, wisdom over convenience, wisdom over all the screens. wisdom that they can apply as leaders of their own home when they grow up. Give them little bitty, we're going to talk about how to do this, little bitty bite-sized choices of wisdom so they can lead their home, their family, their church, their community. So how can we do this? What are some practical ways? You're like, Carrie, okay, that all sounds good. Well, I'm going to tell you, there are a couple of things I'm going to share. One of them is sort of homeschoolish, and that is teaching discernment through reading, writing, and discussion. Reading stories and talking about that situation. How should you handle that situation? When you sort of role play in that situation, that allows your kids the opportunity to use wisdom. I remember my kids going to one of their first sleepovers, and I wasn't quite sure about it. So we did some role playing beforehand. What would you do if they turn on a movie that you don't think mom and dad would like you to watch? And that gives them the opportunity to use wisdom or not, but it gives them the opportunity to show some discernment as well. Maybe you're just talking about a story. What do you think was the right thing to do? My daughter did not want to read the book Pippi Longstocking. And in fifth grade, that was like the only book I wanted to read. That shows where my mind was. And I kept saying, Ashley, no, read another chapter. Finally, I was like, why do you not want to read this book? Because she lies, Mom. Oh my goodness. Pierced me in the heart. I was like, okay, that makes sense. She had more biblical wisdom about it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't read a book that has people that lie, but at the same time, she had some real reasons. She had discernment. She had wisdom beyond her own mom. And so there are times you can go, maybe you are reading a book and they're lying. Was that the right thing to do? Is that what God would call us to do? What does the Bible have to say about that? And then not just the things that we read, and that could be in books or it could be in the Bible, because there are plenty of illustrations in the Bible of the righteous thing and the evil thing, the evil and the wicked people. But maybe at the dinner table, bring up some of the stories you've been reading, some of the books that you've been reading, or talk about current events, or maybe some peer situations that your kids are dealing with friends. Begin some thoughtful conversations. And then that can bring you to the point, how do we act with our friends? And that really leads to how do we act with other people? And then it begins to bring in wisdom, discernment. So start with choices, things in stories outside their realm. It's a little safer. Then go to Bible stories and talk about, Daniel. Did he do the right thing when he said, I'm not going to eat the king's food? And have a discussion about that. Was he using wisdom? Maybe go to Jonah. Was he using wisdom when he went off and got on the boat and didn't go to where God led him and the ship was being tossed and turned everywhere? Was that wisdom and discernment and obedience? So take these situations and talk about them. It's sort of like preparing them for whatever is maybe going to happen. Another situation are movies. I don't know about you, but my kids, they wanted to go to the movies with their friends. And there were a few times by the time they got to junior high, we were allowing them to make decisions. Now, we had some websites that we could do some movie reviews, but it allowed them to go do the review and come back and say, okay, Mom, yeah, I think this is a good, or Dad, a good movie to watch, and here's why. Or maybe it's not the best decision. So you've got to start letting your kids make decisions. If you're still making their decisions in 12th grade, you are raising someone that cannot make decisions as adults. Maybe they can eventually, but you are not launching them into the world to make wise decisions or biblical decisions. Another thing is, as a family, make wisdom your family culture. Make it normal, whether it's a big or a small decision, to pray about it. I will be honest, this is not something that we did well. I prayed about things, but we did not pray as a family. Even though we were moving to Idaho, we still didn't pray as a family. We prayed individually, but we didn't do it as a family. And that is one thing I wish we had done, to where we could hear each other praying to God and listen, not just praying, but listening to God. Because prayer is not a one-way street. Prayer is talking and listening and teaching your kids that. That will develop wisdom. Share your own stories of wise and unwise decisions and what you learned from them. Talk about your decision making, what's going on when you make that decision. I'll tell you one thing, one of my daughters at dinner time, they have three questions. What's the best part of your day, the worst part, or the not good part? And were you kind today? But that, what's the best part of your day, could turn into a wisdom discussion. What are some wisdom wins that we have had this week? And each person can share one wise decision that they had made this week. So kids do not become overnight wise. Just like I don't, I'm still got lots of room to grow. It's a journey. So what would I say to you, Mom? One, model wisdom. Let them get inside your head as you talk it out loud. Be patient. Give grace. Give grace to yourself. Give grace to your kids. Model what you are learning. Godly wisdom grows when truth is sown consistently through conversation. So the more that you can speak wisdom to your kids, that's going to sort of go into their heart, and that will be a lifelong seed that's planted in them. So those are just a few things that I would say are going to help you with wisdom and decision. Use stories, use bottle stories, talk about the characters, let them put themselves in those situations, sort of outside themselves, then bring it down to real life and make wisdom a family culture, and pray about it and talk about the way you make decisions as well. Just a few practical ideas on how you can bring your kids up in wisdom. Now, I will tell you, I've got a few little resources that might help you with that. And starting, if you're, depending on when you're listening to this, May 13th to 23rd, I've got the Homeschool Freedom Bootcamp. I will put a link to that. It is how to get freedom in your life, in your family, in your homeschool. And that freedom allows you to grow wisdom in your kids. I also have a 3-step chart to develop critical thinking skills that will help you with reading a book, writing a book, and talking about a book, and bringing it into wisdom conversation. You can get that at the link that I will share in the show notes as well. And then for those of you that are just not sure where to go for a book, we've got a Read-Aloud book list, and that is a great place to get started. These are books that have endured over time. They are great books to, does every person in the book do the right thing? Do they all show wisdom? Nope. But that's an opportunity for conversation. So, hey, thanks so much for spending time with me. I am Carrie Beck with Homeschool Coffee Break. Talk to you next time.